My name is Tyler, and I'm 37 years old. I'm usually pretty reserved, but today I'd like to share a story from my childhood.
Wow, it's so beautiful, Dad, Mom.
My daughter, Zoe, exclaimed. Isn't it? This is a place full of memories for your mom and me. Listen, Zoe, someday when you grow up and find someone special, you should come here with them too. Zoe tilted her head in confusion. My wife and I looked at each other and laughed. It might have been a bit too early for her to understand, but I said it gently anyway. Zoe smiled happily. It was only a few years ago that my wife and I came to truly appreciate what it means to cherish someone. Our fates intertwined, and we became inseparable. I'm a high school junior, but first, let me tell you about my early childhood. I think I was around the age of starting elementary school. I was out at a festival with my parents. The unfamiliar night scenery, the crowds, and the delicious smells from the food stalls had me in high spirits.
Tyler, wait up.
I let go of my mom's hand and dashed into the crowd. There were just too many fascinating things for little me to keep up with my parents. But before I knew it, the crowd thinned out, and when I tried to retrace my steps, I ended up on an empty street. I cried out for my parents. Dad, Mom, where are you? Then, I heard a voice behind me.
Hey there, little guy, what are you doing here? Are you lost? Come on, I'll take you to the police station. This way.
At first, I thought he was a nice man, but his grip on my arm was oddly strong and scary. It felt like we were heading into a darker area. We were moving away from the houses and into the mountains. I was too frightened to say anything. There was no way a police station could be this way. Then, I heard the screech of a bike's brakes. I looked toward the sound, hoping for help.
Good evening, excuse me, can I ask you something?
It was a man in a police uniform. Apparently, he was on patrol.
May I ask about your relationship with this child?
We're family.
Seeing this, I felt saved and burst into tears on the spot.
Is that really true?
The man, who was trying to avoid trouble, saw my reaction and fled.
Are you okay, kid? That must have been scary. I'll stay with you until your parents arrive.
I nodded desperately. I'll never forget the words of Officer Smith, who talked to me when I was too scared to speak.
You know, I have a daughter about your age. She's quite the handful, but I can't help but adore her. Special people in our lives make us happy just by being there. It's the same for your parents with you. So don't ever let go of their hand and stay safe.
A few minutes later, my parents arrived, and I remember excitedly telling them how cool Officer Smith was.
Thank you so much. When we got the call, we were worried sick, but we're so relieved he's safe. It's no trouble at all. I understand how you feel since I have a daughter about his age.
Since then, I looked up to Officer Smith. When I reached the upper grades of elementary school, I asked my parents to let me take up a martial art to become strong, like him. Thinking of the police, I chose judo. I trained hard and, with confidence, went to the police station where Officer Smith used to work. I wanted to tell him how he inspired me. But I found out he had passed away a year ago. I was devastated. The man who saved me and whom I looked up to was gone. This left a shadow on my heart, which is why I'm so reserved in high school. But now, I have someone else I admire. Today, my idol, Jessica, is standing tall in the competition line. She's known as a lone wolf, someone who never does anything unjust. For some reason, she reminds me of that day and the officer I admired. Her presence is similar. Because of that, I don't think she's a bad or scary person. Sure, she has an intimidating aura, but I even find that cool. Today, I watched her from a distance with my hands in my pockets. She's amazing today too.
Oh, you're smitten, aren't you?
This is our neighbor, Mrs. Johnson. She's friendly with all the students.
Look at her, her posture is perfect. And those determined eyes, I've never seen anything like it. She must really get fired up for competitions. Yep, she's impressive. You're quite taken with her. By the way, Tyler, isn't the scavenger hunt next? Didn't you sign up for that?
Oh, right. Sorry, Mrs. Johnson, I have to go.
Good luck.
I got to the starting line and flipped over the paper for the scavenger hunt. What? Seriously? Whoever wrote this is definitely having fun. I looked around frantically. Where did she go? Oh, there's Jessica.
Hey, what's up all of a sudden?
You're in the same class, right? Can you come with me for a bit?
Together.
Sorry, I'll explain later.
Whoa, hey, what are you doing? Put me down.
Sorry, I'll put you down once we reach the finish line.
I don't get it. You're surprisingly strong, you know that.
Jessica was surprised. I carried her the short distance to the finish line and then set her down. I actually do judo and work out. I was inspired by a police officer who saved me at a festival when I was a kid. Jessica seemed to ponder this for a moment and fell silent. Jessica, is something wrong?
Oh, no, I mean, it was a scavenger hunt. You could have told me while we were running. So, what did the paper say? Something like, the scariest girl?
No, it actually said the most beautiful girl. I thought that had to be you, so I looked for you. Well, we finished late and didn't place high. But if it says number 1, I didn't want to settle.
Really?
Jessica looked shocked. I quickly shut my mouth. Why did I say that to her? I thought so. Anyway, thanks for helping out. I appreciate it. And so the sports festival ended. Our block ended up placing second. The relay runners did a great job. Most of the spectators and parents had left, and the students were starting to clean up. Why did I say that? And I should have explained before picking her up. I sighed as I put the equipment back in the storage room. I must have been a bit too excited around my idol. Then, I heard a familiar voice from behind.
What, you're worried about that? No need to be.
Whoa, Jessica.
No need to be so surprised.
Jessica laughed cheerfully. But the next moment, she closed the storage room door. Huh. Then Jessica turned to face me.
So, was that for real? You think I'm beautiful? You notice my posture and those little details. Aren't you afraid of me?
No, I'm totally serious. Sure, people might find you intimidating, but I've never thought of you as scary or bad. In fact, I've never seen you do anything bad or scary.
Jessica turned bright red.
Are you feeling okay?
No, I've never been told something like that before. It really touched me. Usually, I only get approached by shallow guys. But your words had weight, and now I can't stop thinking about you. What is this feeling?
Jessica's cheeks turned even redder, while I was still trying to grasp the situation.
Could this be love? Tyler, you need to take responsibility.
Responsibility?
Yes, be my boyfriend. Starting tomorrow.
Eh? What? I stood there in shock as Jessica left the storage room, and another person came in to clean up. Me, the boyfriend of the person I admire? I don't remember how I got home that day or what I had for dinner. The idea of becoming my idol's boyfriend was that overwhelming. The next morning. It must have been a dream. A convenient dream.
Huh, what dream? Good morning, Tyler. I'm so lucky to see you this early. I guess we're neighbors. We can walk home together from now on too.
Jessica.
Don't be so distant. Call me Jess.
Jessica immediately linked her arm with mine. With no experience with girls, my heart raced.
We're dating, so this is normal, Jess said.
Yeah, I replied.
Tyler, you're moving your hands and feet at the same time.
Jessica teased me. Even though she was teasing and laughing at me, we walked to school together. Needless to say, our classroom was buzzing. A few days later, the whole class was talking about us. They say the quiet kid tamed the rebel. People said whatever they wanted.
Tyler, class is finally over. The bread should be stocked by now, let's go to the store.
It's like we're on a date at school. Jessica grabbed my hand and happily pulled me out of the classroom. Jessica, who had always been cool and distant, started talking to me a lot after the sports festival. And always with a big smile, like a puppy waiting during class. It's so endearing and cute. Just like the classmates, I was surprised by this change in Jessica, but I was really happy she was so sweet to me. Having my first girlfriend be the person I admire, and she's so cute too, made me feel incredibly lucky. But I couldn't understand why Jessica chose me as her boyfriend after just that one incident. Without confidence, I kept wondering why. One day on my way home, Jessica had to leave early for some errands, so I walked home alone for the first time in a while. It felt a bit lonely. Hey, it's been a while, hasn't it? Mrs. Johnson said. I had gotten so used to having Jessica next to me that I felt her absence deeply. Mrs. Johnson rushed up to me with enthusiasm. Yeah, we haven't seen each other recently, right?
I'm on my way to work. What's with that face? I have a bit of time. Let's go to the park and talk.
Mrs. Johnson, actually. I told her about finally dating Jessica, but how I felt unworthy and didn't understand why she chose me. Mrs. Johnson crossed her arms and smiled gently.
I think you two are a good match. I'm sure others see that too. So, it's really about you, Tyler.
About me?
But feelings and emotions aren't easy to change. I get it. I was also tossed around by emotions and hurt by many guys during my school days. But if you can't figure it out on your own, why not ask her directly? Ask her how she sees you, why she chose you. That might give you some confidence. Well, it's time for me to go. I'm rooting for you.
Thanks. Have a good day at work. I waved goodbye to Mrs. Johnson and thought about her advice. Could I really ask Jessica directly? A few days later, Jessica's cool demeanor had completely disappeared, replaced by her sweet side. One weekend morning, the doorbell rang, and there was Jessica. Oh, Jessica.
Let's go on a date. I brought a helmet, so you can ride on the back.
A date? Wait a minute, let me get ready. I hurried back inside to get ready. Apparently, Jessica had a motorcycle license. I'm ready.
Alright, I'll drive safely.
I held on tightly to Jessica as we sped along. I thought maybe I should get my motorcycle and car licenses too, so I could drive her next time. We quickly arrived at our destination. Wow, this place is beautiful. How did you find it? Jessica had brought me to a scenic overlook. I was genuinely moved. The heavy rain yesterday had cleared up, making the scenery shine even more. Jessica watched me, smiling with satisfaction. It's amazing. It's like it cleanses my soul. I was completely captivated by the view. And for some reason, I felt like I could be honest now. Jessica, can I ask you something? And can you tell me the truth?
What is it?
I don't have much confidence in myself. I feel like I fail at everything. Ever since I found out the police officer I admired passed away, I've felt small and insignificant. But meeting you made every day fun again. I admire you. But even though you chose me as your boyfriend, I still feel insecure and unsure. Jessica listened seriously, without making fun of me. So, why did you choose me just because of those few words?
Well, it's a long story. It all started with that scavenger hunt. You accepted me for more than just my appearance. That meant a lot because most people only see the outside. I'm not a rebel or that strong, even if I look it. I'm just a regular girl who reads romance comics and enjoys trendy sweets. People misunderstood me because of my tough appearance. I actually lost my dad. He was a police officer. My mom and I were close, but he was always strict with me. I understand now that it was because his job was dangerous and he worried about me. But I was in my rebellious phase and didn't listen. Before we could reconcile, I found out the next day that he had died. I've regretted it ever since and haven't even visited his grave. I didn't make friends and was misunderstood a lot. It was tough, but I thought it was my punishment for being a bad daughter. But you, Tyler, you saw me for who I really am. That made me so happy. That's why I fell for you. Does that answer your question?
Jessica scratched her head, embarrassed. I see. You've been through a lot. Thank you for sharing. I'm glad we talked about our feelings. Maybe seeing this beautiful scenery helped us open up. Thanks for bringing me here, Jessica. When I smiled at her, Jessica looked like she had something else to say. What's wrong?
This place, it's special to me. It's a place with memories of my dad.
Really? Memories of your dad?
Yeah. My dad used to take me here on his bike all the time. That's why I got my motorcycle license, because of him. He always told me to come see this view with someone important when I grew up. So today, I wanted to bring you here.
I see. I'm really glad you brought me to a place that means so much to you.
Hearing that makes me, and probably my dad, happy.
Your dad too?
Yeah. I remembered it after you told your story at the sports festival. But I've known about you for a long time.
For a long time? What do you mean?
Well, we first met in high school. But I heard about you from my dad when I was a kid. He told me about a boy my age who got separated from his parents and had a scary experience.
That.
My last name now is from my mom, but my original last name was Smith. Does that sound familiar?
Smith. The man who saved me that day. I thought you seemed familiar. It turns out you're his daughter. I was shocked and felt the urge to share the story that her dad told me, knowing she still regretted not making up with him. He told me that his daughter was quite a handful but very precious to him. He said having someone special by your side brings happiness. His gaze was so tender when he talked about you. You might regret not reconciling with him, but he definitely treasured you. Even if people misunderstood you or you didn't have friends, he wouldn't have thought it was a punishment. He would have been mad at anyone who called you a troublemaker. As I awkwardly conveyed this, Jessica teared up but managed a bittersweet smile.
Tyler, let's come here again. Let's always be honest with each other, so we can stay together forever.
Feeling the weight of her words, I nodded seriously.
And someday, if we have a family, we'll bring our kids here and tell them the same thing, come here with someone important.
Maybe my dad felt the same way. Being with someone important makes you feel so warm inside. I silently hugged Jessica. We stood there for a while, letting the gentle breeze, still carrying a hint of last night's rain, wash over us. We left after that, but from that day on, I fell even more in love with Jessica. I initially admired her cool and tough side, but I also adored her sweet and affectionate side. One day, I had planned a date with Jessica.
Where are we going today?
Jessica asked excitedly. I replied seriously. We're visiting your dad's grave. Can you show me the way?
What?
I'll be with you the whole time. I think you can do it now. Jessica nodded firmly. We took a taxi to the cemetery where her dad was buried. Jessica was quiet the whole way, just holding my hand and looking ahead. When we arrived, we washed our hands, offered flowers, and prayed.
Thank you, Tyler. There was so much I wanted to say.
After about 10 minutes, Jessica turned around, tears streaming down her face.
If I hadn't met you, I might never have been able to face my dad. I'm really glad I met you.
Seeing her trembling smile, I tried to cheer her up with a light joke. Maybe Mr. Smith brought us together.
Maybe so.
Jessica smiled shyly, and we left the cemetery. After visiting her dad's grave, Jessica seemed lighter, and her intimidating aura faded. She started getting along with everyone in class. Her smile increased, and I felt more at ease. A few years later, after becoming the police officer I aspired to be, I took Jessica to the scenic overlook to propose. Jessica, I believe our meeting was fate.
What's with you all of a sudden? You're making me blush.
Seeing her embarrassed smile, I knew I wanted to make her happy forever. Jessica, I love you.
What's this all of a sudden? It makes me happy, though.
Seeing her flustered made me chuckle. I'm so lucky to be with someone like you. I want to be with you forever, no matter what happens.
Tyler, that sounds like.
Did you figure it out? It's a proposal. Jessica, will you marry me? I handed her a ring at our special place. Jessica's eyes filled with tears.
I can't count how many times you've saved me. I'm who I am today because of you. Are you sure you want me?
I want you, Jessica. She hugged me tightly and said, yes, please, in a trembling voice. A week after that emotional proposal, I went to Jessica's house to ask for her hand in marriage. Please give me your daughter.
Of course.
Wait, let Tyler finish.
Jessica could visit her dad's grave, make friends, and become happier all because of you. There's no one better for her. Thank you so much, Tyler.
Jessica's mom's tears almost made me cry too. The next day, we went to my house to introduce Jessica to my parents. I had already told them she was Mr. Smith's daughter.
Excuse me.
Holding Jessica's hand, I led her inside.
Welcome. You must be Mr. Smith's precious daughter. I only spoke with your father briefly when Tyler got lost, but you really do look like him. Just so you know, we fully support your marriage. Let's skip the formalities and look at some of Tyler's childhood albums.
Hearing she looked like Mr. Smith, Jessica got teary-eyed. Wait a minute. There aren't any embarrassing photos in there, right? Please don't. The somber mood turned into laughter, filling the house with joy. And that's how it should be. Jessica and I need to look ahead and enjoy the present. A few years later, we returned to that scenic overlook. Of course, Jessica and our daughter Zoe, who was born a year after we got married, were with us.
Wow, it's so beautiful, Dad, Mom.
Isn't it? This is a special place for your mom and me.
For you and Mom.
Yeah. So when you grow up, you should bring someone special here too. Then you'll be just as in love as your mom and I are.
Really? Okay.
Jessica smiled, looking just like Mr. Smith did that day. I love you both.
Me too.
And I love you, Mom and Dad.